How good is Blueface at boxing? Find out in this Blueface Boxing breakdown. Now, for those who don't know, Blueface, the rapper, is actually taking on Kane Trujillo, also previously known on TikTok as Neumane. They're going to be fighting on the Bare Knuckle Fighting Championships 19 card on Friday, July 23rd in Tampa, Florida. Pretty exciting stuff. I haven't really done a video like this since the Social Gloves TikToker versus YouTuber event. Hopefully these guys are going to get paid for the work that they're kind of putting into it and whatnot, but I just want to do another like influencer boxing video. I know a lot of people kind of enjoyed those, so let's go into this one. Blueface is a guy that I just find really interesting. Right off the bat, if we're talking about how good he is, or maybe potentially how good he could be, because I did see in a recent interview where they were kind of talking to him and his trainer. It's on YouTube, but they pretty much said they've only been training for like 2 months. And this video was, not 2 months, 2 weeks, excuse me. They only been training for 2 weeks. And they actually posted this on like July 2nd. So the fight is coming up. It's on the 23rd. So they haven't been training for very long, but I don't think Kane really has been training that long either. So I guess they're even in that regard. But one thing I think Blueface has going for him right away is that he's an athlete. He used to be a high school quarterback. And if you actually like look at his highlights, it looks like he knows what he's doing. It looks like he's an athletic kid, good like kind of like dual threat quarterback. You know, he's good at getting out of the pocket. He could sling the ball pretty well too. So seems like he's like a pretty like gifted athlete. And although that's not everything in boxing, I think that's a good foundation to have. I don't think it hurts. From what I saw, Kane Trujillo, he's only like 5'9", 5'10", and then from what I saw on Blueface, he's like 6'3", 6'4", so he's got a huge height advantage. And when we actually look at some clips in just a moment, you're gonna see how like lengthy this guy is and how much of a reach he has. And I mean, if he can perfect like the jab, I mean, that's gonna be money all day. So let's go right into the video. Like I said, I'm gonna be pretty kind to him just on the basis of the fact that he's only, at this point of watching these clips, he's only been training about like 2 to 3 weeks. So just imagine you doing something for 2 to 3 weeks, less than a month. You're going to be a little still like raw at it, right? You're going to be learning a lot of things. You're going to see him thinking a lot, which is totally normal. He's obviously learning something. And even in 3 months, you probably aren't going to make like these huge like leaps and bounds. But here he is trying his best, and let's get into it. So this first clip we're looking at is a bunch of like Instagram stories pretty much that someone just put together in like a YouTube video. He's actually training with David Kaminsky, who is a 6-1 pro boxer, so he's getting some professional experience, which I think is a good start. To me, this footage also looks like it was probably at like an end of a workout. He seems like a little slow, and I don't think it's just because he's like learning. I think it's probably because he's like a little tired. But if we look at this clip right here, you can see he's actually like asking questions about the combination. So he's has to think a lot. He's still getting things wrong, but again, 2 to 3 weeks, not that much time to really grasp something. So he's definitely trying. You can even see in this clip too, they kind of cut to one of the coaches on the side. He's pretty much telling him not to think. He's like, just throw the punches, just kind of flow, because he's not really flowing. And obviously they're just doing like the mitts, but that is a good time where you can flow, where you can get that confidence, because you're not sparring. You don't have somebody like punching you either. This is when you can get comfortable and start getting that foundation down. So I think they're trying just to instill that in him. So in this next clip too, he kind of backs his coach into a corner while they're hitting mitts here, and is setting up the hook with the jab. His jab looks fine. He's not great he's not great at being defensive while being offensive. He leaves a lot of gaps open. I think it'd be really easy to counter him with right down the pipe. But yeah, if you look here, just look at this hook. I mean, he's telegraphing that all day long. You can see it coming from a mile away. It almost looks like he's like a pitcher in or a quarterback for that matter. He's winding it up so much. You can see it coming all day. Yeah, maybe it'll have a lot of power for hits, but the odds of that landing and even landing clean, it just I just don't see that happening. So he's definitely got to clean that up. He should definitely be more tighter. He does seem like he pivots his foot pretty well, so his footwork's not terrible. But yeah, just going so low like that and coming up, it almost looks like a street fight. It doesn't look like boxing. To go to a positive here, they kind of do a slow motion to show you, but you see he changes levels too. So that's good that they're teaching him that, because again, 2 to 3 weeks, you got to teach this guy the basics right off the bat, what's going to really help him in the fight. They don't have a ton of time either, so hopefully they're not really rushing the process either. I'm hoping they're kind of just we're going to prepare you as best we can. and that kind of thing, because I think if you rush him, it's just going to be a real sloppy fight between both guys. I wouldn't be surprised if they are just kind of like what he was doing there, like we saw earlier, where he's just throwing that. Hopefully it doesn't turn that. Hopefully he can be like a little more technical. So this next clip is just him pretty much like hitting the bag here. You can see he's got like a stiff jab. He's keeping a better defense up in here too when they didn't have the mitts. Like I said, the other clip he was kind of tired, so maybe that's something we can expect. When he gets tired, his hands go down. But here it looks like he's got a lot more energy. He's got a lot more speed. He's got his hands up. This is like a lot better, I think, too. But obviously hitting a bag is much different than, even hitting mitts, because, the coach was, he was stationary for most part, but he was moving around a little bit, where with the bag, he's kind of just like standing there. It's much easier just to look better on the bag, obviously. But I do like that jab. I think that jab, like I said, could be key for him. A 6'4" guy with a, the reach advantage that he's going to have. If he can really establish that jab, that's going to be money. And then with this last clip, too, it's just him hitting mitts with, like, another coach. But just, like, look how tall he is, how lengthy he is. He's extending the jab, rather well. I think Blueface has the foundation because of his athletic background and also just, like, his physical attributes, too. Obviously, he's a super skinny guy, but the fact that he can, pop that jab out, pretty fast and, if he can actually use his, which I think is going to be hard for someone who just learned, but if he can actually use his, length and distance to his advantage, I don't see how Trujillo could beat him. So, is Blueface good at this point? I think so. I'm confident enough to say that, yeah, I do think he's good. He's good enough for what he's doing. He's learning. Like I said, I think the athletic background, because again, guys, you got to keep in mind the 2-3 weeks. He hasn't been doing it very long. The fact that he has an athletic background, the fact that he's, training with a pro, the fact that he's got that, a decent jab, he's got the, the length and the kind of the physical attributes that if you can have a good jab, because literally, he hasn't been training for long, so, and this fight is coming up, so if he can just have the jab, honestly, I think that could be money for him. He doesn't have to have this huge arsenal. If he just does a couple of things really well, I think that's going to benefit him, and it seems like maybe that's what he's kind of getting at too, so I think for a guy who's been training for as long as he has, definitely not bad at all. So this next clip is pretty much Blueface just hitting Fuzi in the stomach to see how hard he can hit, but I do want to talk about this a little bit.
Make that shit a six-pack.
There we go, life insurance.
Out of everybody who's punched me, this whole thing, that was the hardest punch that I've felt so far.
So you guys saw right there, obviously the reaction from Fuzi. I don't know why he had his eyes covered, because I feel like that could alter how it feels too, because maybe you're not like exactly ready for it, as if you see a punch coming and then take it. So I don't know why he really was like covering his eyes. I've never seen him do that for other ones that he did where he was getting punched in the stomach. But I think the fact that he's saying like, hey, I'm not lying, this was the hardest I've been hit by anybody, I think that says quite a bit, because I know in the lead up to the social gloves, I think McBroom had punched him, Sean Johnston, Tanner Fox, Taylor Holder, I think Bryce Hall too. Obviously these are all, influencers and guys that, at the time of, training, they were all training longer than Blueface has been training now. But the fact that, like, all these guys punch him, he's saying that was like the hardest punch he's taken, I think that says something. I think Blueface does have that power too. And that was one thing that, like, when I was talking about the jab, one thing I was kind of thinking in the back of my mind was like, well, does he have that power, with a follow-up punch, with a hook, with a overhand right, that kind of thing? Does he have that power punch? And it seems like he might have that power, and obviously power is not everything. You got to learn how to harness that power, but the fact that he does have that is something you can't really teach. So I think the fact that Blueface does have power, I think it's only going to benefit him. And I think when you're thinking about a guy who's just beginning boxing, if he has the power, if he's, training with a pro, so he's got, good guys around him, guys that are better than him at least, he's got, the athletic attributes, he's got the range, he's got the height. It sounds like he could have the recipe of being a pretty good boxer. Like I said, he's very amateur right now, and he's still just learning. But going back to just the original question, how good he is, I think he's pretty good for how long he's been doing it, I guess, would be the safest thing to say. So there you guys have it. One of the reasons why I'm most excited about covering some of these bare knuckle fights is because I actually might be at the event covering it which would be pretty cool on July 23rd. It's a Friday, so I'm pretty excited. There's a lot of other TikToker YouTubers on this card. Bare Knuckle Boxing, it's a different animal, man. No gloves. You know, these guys are tough, and I respect anybody who gets in the ring cage. I especially respect these guys for stepping in there, because bare knuckles, man, that's a whole nother ball game. You know, the punches are gonna hurt more. You know, you have less padding. I think they do put like they have like, you know, the wraps, but they don't even cover their knuckles. I think it's pretty much just to like, you know, like protect their hands a little more. But those knuckles are bare, you know, and they're going to be punching each other. So respect to these guys for getting in there. I think it's going to be a pretty cool card, because it's not going to be like the YouTuber, TikToker boxing event where, like, you know, it was all influencers. This is actually going to have some pro fighters. Kind of funny because Paige Vizant, you know, reminded everyone that during the Social Gloves broadcast. But she is actually headlining it against Rachel Ostovich, you know, 2 former UFC girls there. So I think that's really cool. You know, 2 really good fighters. So I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see this Blueface fight with Kane Trujillo. I think it's gonna be real interesting. I haven't seen much on Trujillo, which is why I want to make this more based on Blueface. But honestly, I don't even feel like I have to see Trujillo to know that I think Blueface has the advantage here, and I think Blueface is probably gonna be the better boxer, just because I think he has so much going for him as far as like that height, as far as the power. You know, like I say, he's training with... I also saw, you know, Kane's training with a pro too, so he's obviously putting good guys around him too, but he's got a really big, you know, height disadvantage there. He's going to have to get inside with Blueface, and if he's kind of standing right there and tight on him, and Blueface has the power that he supposedly has, according to Fuzi, you know, it might be trouble for Trio. So it's going to be interesting to see. But like I said, guys, if you want, you know, other videos, let me know in the comments below what you would like to see me do. I do like interviews with MMA fighters. I've been doing that pretty consistently lately. But yeah, I love doing these like little like fun not even predictions, but just breakdowns and things like that. But if you like this video, guys, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and ring that bell. I really do appreciate it. And we'll see you guys on the next one.